Yeah, good evening, everyone. Hi, we're getting started. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening to all the health enthusiasts, and welcome to this event from the World of Wellness community. As you're all aware, this is an event on the heart health and the causes for heart attacks, and how we can really take some preventive measures to lead a really happy and healthy life without getting in this radar of heart attacks. So, what is the need to talk about this particular topic all of a sudden? And yeah, world of wellness. If you're aware, we have been very popular when it comes to healthy weight loss. We have been known for the weight loss um, advices that we give and consultations that we provide to the clients, and some hormonal issues. But why all of a sudden we are talking about heart health? Let me start by giving clarification. Before that, my name is Raja Naren Tirumala. I am one of the nutritionists and wellness coaches in the world of wellness community, and I am also a fitness trainer and a certified Zumba professional in the Beats Fitness Studios, which has its presence in more than 10 places in South India. And I'm also one of the co-founders of Beats Fitness Studios. So uh, today we have with us to help all of you get some real good insights and awakening in uh, uh, that this particular topic of heart health. We have got two very phenomenal people here, two very highly successful people in their respective professions. Dr. Srinivas, who is a renowned microbiologist, and he is the director for a privately owned RT-PCR laboratories, one of its kind in the entire state of Andhra Pradesh. And we have with us Sagar Vasam Reddy, who is also a nutritionist and a wellness coach and a certified dietitian and a nutrigenomics instructor. One of the rare certifications where very few qualified people who can really coach on this concept of nutrigenomics. So we have that person also here to throw light on this subject of how we can lead a very healthy life uh, without any heart ailments. So let us proceed into the topic. And what is the why exactly we are talking about this particular subject on this evening? Uh, Let me start my screen share. So top reasons for heart attacks. If you have gone through one of the news articles that's been aired, it's being aired now and then, but this has come especially in view of one of the recent demises of one of a famous film stars. I think he's a TV star. So
hello and welcome. You're watching FII. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Now, India's youth are facing an unusual challenge, dealing with their unhealthy hearts. Indians are now getting heart attacks at a much younger age. In fact, sample this. Every minute, about 4 Indians in the age group of 30 to 50 experience a fatal heart attack. In fact, Indians get heart attacks 8 to 10 years before any other ethnic group across the world as well. And Mantra Bedi's husband's sudden death at 4:30 in the morning in his house while sleeping, Raj Kaushal collapsing before his family could even call for help, has once again brought to the focus Indian youth's health and their heart issues. So on FII today, we tell you the why and how of heart attacks in young Indians. Thus, let's try and understand, is there a connection of heart attack with age? Now, while it is true that increasing age is a risk factor and heart attacks are more common after 45 in men and after 55 in women, with risk increasing as one grows older, a heart attack is far from rare now in younger people as well, between 30 to 40. Indians get heart attack a decade earlier in their lives compared to any other ethnic group, and according to the Indian Heart Association, 50% of all heart attacks in Indians occur under 50 years of age.
With this intro, probably I would like to call on to stage Dr. Srinivas here. Sir, good evening. Can you please unmute yourself, sir?
Okay, Naren, is it okay?
Yeah, very much. So, good evening.
Naren, good evening.
Yeah. See.
Good evening, everybody.
So, welcome to the session, and thanks for your time. Thanks for accepting the invitation. We have seen this video clip which says that 50% of the heart attacks that are happening, especially in India, are in the people less than 50 years, which is a very big alarming number, and which is honestly speaking a very bitter truth. So can you say, can you pass your comments on this, and why so?
Right, Naren. Okay. Good evening, everybody. As very relevant to the topic, young Indians are being affected with heart attack, and యంగ్ యూత్లో హార్ట్ అటాక్ ఎక్కువగా ఉంది భారతదేశంలో ఉన్న వాళ్ళలో అని చెప్పి చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్తున్నారు. ఇది ఏమైనా ఎన్డీటీవీ ఫైండింగా, ఒక న్యూస్ పేపర్లో వచ్చిన ఆర్టికలా అంటే కానే కాదు ఇది. మీరు నారాయణ హృదయాలయ సైట్లోకి వెళ్ళి చూసినా, అపోలో వాళ్ళ సైట్లోకి వెళ్ళి చూసినా కూడా more than 10 million Indians are being affected with heart attacks every year. 10 million. ఇప్పుడు పర్సెంటేజ్లో తీసుకుంటే 50% బిలో 45 years అంటున్నారు. మొత్తం టోటల్ నంబర్ చూసుకుంటే మోర్ దాన్ 10 millions అనమాట. అది ఆ 10 millionsలో ఒక్కసారి 50% తీసుకోండి, ఎంత అవుతారు? ఇట్స్ అబౌట్
50 lakhs.
అంటే అసలు ఆ నంబర్ అనుకుంటే భయం అనిపిస్తుంది అనమాట. అంటే ఒక పెద్ద మెట్రో సిటీ ఉంది, మొత్తం మెట్రో సిటీలో ఉండే వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా, యంగ్స్టర్స్ అందరూ కూడా చనిపోయినారని ఊహించండి ఒక్కసారి వాళ్ళు జలధరించాలన్నమాట. నిజం, ఇట్ ఈస్ హ్యాపెనింగ్. ఎందుకు జరుగుతోంది ఇలాగా? వై దిస్ ఈస్ కామన్ అంటే, ఇది డాక్యుమెంటెడ్ కేసెస్ మాత్రమే. ఇది అంటే ఒక డాక్టర్ దగ్గరికి పోయిన తర్వాత ఈ కారణం చేత ఇది జరిగింది అని డాక్యుమెంట్ చేస్తేనే అది 50% కేసెస్, లేదా ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్స్ చేస్తే ఆ ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్స్ లో బయటపడింది హార్ట్ అటాక్ తో ఉన్నాడు ఈయన అని చెప్పడంతో అనమాట. అలా కాకుండా అసలు డాక్టర్ దగ్గరికి రీచ్ కాకుండా చనిపోయి ఉంటే బ్రాడ్ డెడ్ అని రాసిస్తారు. అట్లాంటి వాళ్ళు కూడా చాలా మంది ఉంటారనమాట. సో నంబర్ ఈజ్ రియల్లీ ఎ లిటిల్ మోర్ దాన్ దట్ 50%, more than 50 lakhs. Now what I want to say regarding this, నరేన్ చెప్పినట్టుగా ఇట్ ఈస్ అ బిటర్ ట్రూత్, ఇట్ ఈస్ అలార్మింగ్ అంటున్నాడు. దానికన్నా ఇంకా పెద్ద పదాలు చాలా ఉన్నాయి. భయపెట్టడం ఇష్టం లేక అట్లా మాట్లాడుతున్నాం, కానీ అసలు పరిస్థితి అయితే చాలా దారుణంగా ఉంది. ఎందుకు ఇలాగ జరుగుతుంది? వై యంగ్ ఏజ్ ఈస్ బీయింగ్ అఫెక్టెడ్ అంటే ది ఓన్లీ రీజన్ అంటే ఒక డాక్టర్గా ఈ కారణం చేతనే ఇది జరుగుతుంది అని చెప్పేదానికి ఏంటంటే లైఫ్ స్టైల్ మాత్రమే. జీవన శైలి, వాళ్ళు జీవించే పద్ధతి ఎలాగుంది అనేది దాన్ని బట్టి మాత్రమే ఇది అలా జరుగుతుంది. ఇంతకుముందు ఇది లేదు. ఎందుకు అంటే ఎంతో కొంచెం మూమెంట్ ఉండేది, ఎంతో కొంత జాబ్ కోసమని ఇంకో దానికోసమని మూమెంట్ ఉండింది, ప్రయత్నం చేసేవాళ్ళు, ఎక్సర్సైజ్లు అవి చేసేవాళ్ళు అనమాట. ఏదో ఒక రకంగా మొబిలిటీ ఉండింది. ఇప్పుడు అది లేకుండా అయిపోయింది. ఎస్పెషల్లీ రైట్ ఫ్రమ్ లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ మార్చ్ 26, 2020 నుంచి అసలు భయంకరంగా ఉన్నాయన్నమాట పరిస్థితులు. సో ది ఓన్లీ రీజన్ ఈజ్ లైఫ్ స్టైల్. లైఫ్ స్టైల్ వలన మాత్రమే, అంటే లైఫ్ స్టైల్ ఇన్క్లూడ్స్ వాట్ దే ఈట్, what they do regularly, when they get up, when they sleep, and how they are socially maintaining the relationships, and how successful they are with themselves. అంటే ఈ లాస్ట్ లో చెప్పిన ముక్క చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ అన్నమాట. అంటే మనిషి తనని తాను సక్సెస్ఫుల్ గా చేసుకోకపోతే లైఫ్ స్టైల్ అనేది ఉండదన్నమాట అది. సో ఈ కారణాల చేత నరేన్, లైఫ్ స్టైల్ వలన మాత్రమే ఈ ప్రివలెన్స్ హార్ట్ అటాక్ చాలా ఎక్కువగా ఉంది.
Okay, and before I get into the next question, let me, I think some of you must be really aware, if you are all educated enough. So the reasons, for the common reasons that we all know about heart attacks, what are the most common reasons that we all of us know about heart attacks, even if you got a little education, okay, little awareness. Number one is CHD, which is called as cardio, heart diseases, or cardio, artery diseases. So idi ante we all know that the clotting of blood, this is the common term that we are all used to when we are growing up. Like heart attack means the blood vessel in the heart got blocks in the heart, right? This is one common reason that we all are very much aware of. And as just now we discussed age, which was 45 plus few maybe years back, but unfortunately it is kind of advancing into the late 30s, maybe early 30s also. And obesity, we all are pretty much aware. Whenever you go to any doctor for maybe for diabetes checkup or any other checkup, the first thing they advise you is to reduce your weight, come down in your weight, come to the right ideal weight, because obesity is linked to heart ailments and diabetes. So someone with diabetes is directly diabetes directly increases the risk of heart attack, maybe multiple times. So someone without diabetes dying of heart attack and someone with diabetes dying of heart attack, if you really compare, so if someone has diabetes, that person has more, majority, the risk of getting these heart attacks. And high cholesterol and high triglyceride levels, and insulin resistance or pre-diabetes, this is, or metabolic syndrome, we call it as metabolic syndrome. These are all one of the few of the reasons why heart attacks occur. And of course, family history of heart attacks. Maybe if our gene carries that, what to say, I don't know whether I should use the word destiny or whatever. If your granddad died of heart attack and dad, so I think you really need to take care of your heart. You need to be a little more cautious about your heart. And yeah, smoking kills. It's a universal truth. So these are all some common facts and common things that we are all very much aware of. Now, I just would like to show you a video which got viral recently. Sagar, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Naren.
No. Actually,
The computer screen kanpatla.
Oh, this one, YouTube now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Naren.
So it was, I mean, extremely sorry to show this video because it was kind of disturbing. The visuals were disturbing. But yeah, if you have seen this attentively, that person was gasping for breath in his last moments, gasping for breath. And yeah, he was continuously, I mean, signaling that there was something very uneasy happening in his
Left side.
upper part of chest, left part, maybe on the arm. And suddenly he collapsed, right? I mean, where exactly this happened? It happened in a gymnasium. He just came out of his exercise routine. Maybe he took a break in between his exercise and just collapsed. So, sir, my question is, see, yeah, they say that heart attack is a silent killer. That's how, and this clearly even showed why it's a silent killer. Because my concern and question here is, I want to know, and everybody, also everyone in this call also would like to know, wouldn't that person have got any sign or signal the day before, or 15 days before, or a month before? Is it really that silent? Because it's really a dangerous situation to be in. Were there signs which he really ignored?
రైట్ నరేన్. ఇప్పుడు నరేన్ అడిగిన ప్రశ్న మీకు అందరికి అర్థమైంది అనుకుంటాను. ఏం అడుగుతున్నాడంటే, ఇది అప్పుడే వచ్చిందా, లేదా ఒక 1 వీక్ ముందర, ఒక రోజు ముందర, లేదా ఒక 2 వీక్స్ ముందర ఇది వచ్చి ఏమైనా వార్నింగ్ సిగ్నల్స్ లాగా ఏమైనా ఉండేదానికి అవకాశం ఉంది కదా, ఉంటుందా అలాగా ఏమైనా అని అడుగుతున్నాడు అనమాట నరేన్. అబ్సల్యూట్లీ.
Sir, can you try to put it a little more in English, because we got few English audience.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Naren's question is very, very specific. Is this the first time that he experienced and collapsed, or were there any earlier warning signs in him also? This silent heart attack in other people will not be very, very silent. There may be some warning signs earlier also. Could that be identified at an early stage, right on the first time they occurred? Yes, definitely. In the video that you have seen just now, the person was in distress, cardiac distress. He knew very clearly that something is seriously wrong with his heart. He could not sit, he could not stand, he could not go down, he could not get up, and he ignored it. He wanted to drink, he wanted to wipe his face, he was feeling pain on the left side of the chest, discomfort and all. He is not comfort at all, he is not at ease at all. He ignored it. Yes, this may not be the first sign or first day. At least 2 to 3 weeks earlier, he must have experienced similar things. But why on this particular day or on that particular day the attack was very serious or very severe, so that he collapsed? Because he was in a gym, he was in exercise, strenuous workout, where his heart could not cope up any exercise. At that point of time, he became uneasy, he got out. Had he been taken to a doctor, he would have survived. Same thing is happening. Right from the morning, the person will be uneasy. He may be experiencing a little pain in the left arm, maybe little pain in the left heart, left side of the heart, left side of the chest, or maybe uneasiness after eating the breakfast, maybe uneasy while tying the shoes and all. This is not with this person only. I'm giving you another example. And that person, at the end of the day, when he comes off the duty, comes home and have his bath, eats his food, he sits on a sofa, then his heart will say, my friend, thank you. I'm very happy to be with you. I'm not with you anymore. Goodbye. And then he complains pain. Right from the morning, the heart was giving signals. He ignored, he neglected, he was really complacent for that. And then people will start taking, the family members will take him to the doctor. ప్రొద్దునే గమనించినానండి, right in the morning I saw him, he was not comfortable. I thought maybe something was wrong with his breakfast, maybe something he's little disturbed, maybe something he's not comfortable. I noticed it, but I clearly saw him only in the evening after his dinner. This is the history that the patient gives to the doctor. By any chance, the doctor attempts to revive him and doctor's attempts are successful, and retrospective history taking will make revealing startling findings. That person will say, yes sir, last month when there was a power cut, I was climbing the stairs, I could not climb the stairs, I sat on the first floor, and then I stayed for about 5-6 minutes. I had my breath, normal breath again, and then I went to my home. Usually this is the history that the person who survives or who is revived by the doctor will give. Yes, the warning signals are definitely there. We ignore them. We means not doctors, people will ignore them. They take it as heartburn, maybe gastritis. They take it as little pain in the arm, maybe excessive use of their arm. They take it because the job was not comfortable, so something was not really good for him. So they attribute that discomfort of the heart, which the heart was serially signaling, to other causes: indigestion, constipation, or gastritis, or maybe psychological disturbances. Definitely warning signs are there. Warning signs will be there. Naren.
Sir, you're on mute.
Actually, how can we differentiate these signs, sir? Because you just now told that they might have mistook these signs to acidity, gastric trouble. But is there a subtle difference where people can really find out, no, this is not gastric trouble, this is something else which I really should be taking care of, and maybe it should be approaching a doctor too, or else they just will take some antacid and they just will pass the day, right? So how can we differentiate?
Naren, it's really very difficult, impossible job for an ordinary man to distinguish, to separate, to identify that this is because of heart and this is not because of heart. Even the mistakes are happening in the hospital, general hospitals even. I can quote my personal example. I was in my internship, I was in casualty, and a man of 47, 48 years had come to me to the casualty in the evening at about 7 o'clock. He was normal. He was very good in height, maybe 5'9", 5'10", and he is well built and he's very, very courteous. He was very polite also. He came to the casualty and then identified the house surgeon and then asked me, నాకు కొంచెం అనీజీగా ఉందండి, ఏదో వామిటింగ్ సెన్సేషన్ లాగా ఉంది, ఐఎమ్ నాట్ వెల్, కెన్ యూ ప్లీజ్ చెక్ మీ అప్. And at that time we were busy with a road traffic accident, and suddenly one of the team of the house surgeons got separated and asked that man to lie down and then recorded the BP was a little fluctuating higher side, and then the duty assistant doctor had come, the physician had come, and then he immediately felt the irregularity in the pulse and then asked for an ECG and immediately shifted to cardiology. He survived.
Okay.
Survived. It's really difficult. Not just difficult, it's impossible. Because heart attack most of the time mimics gastritis, mimics little muscle pain, a stabbing pain in the left arm suddenly. So what we attribute, నేను ఈరోజు సంచి మోస్తున్నాను కదా, కూరగాయల సంచి మోస్తున్నాను, లేదా ఏదో వెయిట్ మోసుకొని వచ్చినాను, లేదా డ్రైవ్ చేస్తుంటే కొంచెం హెవీగా దీంతో పట్టుకున్నాను, సెల్ ఫోన్ ఎక్కువగా వాడినాను కాబట్టి ఇట్లా అయిందేమో, ఇగ్నోర్ ఇట్ అనమాట. అది కనీసం అంటే 2 to 3 weeks ముందర నుంచి ఆ సింప్టమ్ ఉంటుంది అనమాట. అది
So from what you told, I mean, very nice to really know that that person survived, because that
Yes.
47, he came to the hospital on time with maybe he met the right people at the right time, and or else if he had sit in his house and thought that okay, this was some gastric trouble or something, definitely he wouldn't have survived, I believe.
yes.
Right. So let us really look at a few symptoms that Dr. Srinivas just mentioned. What are the symptoms of a heart attack? And what are the things that we should be really taking care of? What are the warning signs?
ACS and MI. Acute coronary syndrome, or ACS, is the set of one or more conditions that cause the blockage of blood flow to the heart muscles, resulting in a myocardial infarction, or MI. The heart is a muscular organ that pumps blood containing oxygen and nutrients to the rest of the body. The left ventricle is the main pumping chamber of the heart and contracts to send oxygenated blood to the rest of the body through the aorta. Several smaller arteries, known as coronary arteries, are connected to the aorta and supply the muscles of the heart with the necessary oxygen and nutrients. In acute coronary syndrome, there is a blockage in the blood flow through the coronary arteries, usually due to an atherosclerotic plaque, a coronary artery spasm, or a coronary artery dissection. In atherosclerosis, the continued deposition of a fatty plaque results in the narrowing of the involved coronary artery. Rupture of this plaque results in the formation of a blood clot, thereby causing a blockage of the involved coronary artery. The formation of a blood clot is the most common cause of a coronary artery blockage. Other less common causes of coronary artery blockage include a coronary artery spasm, which is triggered by drugs, smoking, cold weather, or extreme stress, resulting in a sudden tightening of the coronary artery, or a coronary artery dissection, in which the inside wall of the coronary artery separates, resulting in a blockage to the blood flow. Such a blockage to either of the coronary arteries results in oxygen and nutrients failing to reach the part of the heart supplied by it causing the death of the heart muscle, a condition known as myocardial infarction. Symptoms of a blocked coronary artery include sudden pain or discomfort, tightening, or a burning sensation in the chest, known as angina, which may extend to the upper abdomen, shoulders, arms, neck, or lower jaw. Angina occurring at rest or as multiple episodes, preventing even moderate physical activity, is known as unstable angina and is commonly observed in acute coronary syndrome. Other symptoms of acute coronary syndrome include 1. Breathlessness, 2. Dizziness, 3. Sweating, 4. Nausea. Treatment of acute coronary syndrome or an MI usually involves the following. 1. Oxygen therapy to increase the amount of oxygen delivered to the blood and heart. 2. Aspirin or antiplatelet therapy to prevent blood clots. 3. Thrombolytic therapy such as TPA or streptokinase to break up existing blood clots. 4. Nitroglycerine and morphine to relax the coronary arteries and relieve the pain. 5. Beta blockers, which reduce the heart rate, thereby decreasing the oxygen requirement. 6. Coronary angioplasty, an interventional procedure in which a balloon-tipped catheter is inflated inside a blocked coronary artery to open it with a stent remaining behind to keep the coronary artery patent. 7. Coronary artery bypass grafting, or CABG, pronounced as CABG, a surgical procedure in which the blocked coronary artery is bypassed with a vein or artificial graft material in order to re-establish blood flow to the heart.
See, actually, if you understand, folks, there are 7 methods in which a patient suffering from heart attack, who suffered an heart attack, can be revived. But we are not here to talk about all those 7. please understand, our focus is not those 7, right? Our focus is not to get into that, not to definitely get into that. Prevention, that is what we are here for. So let's not be, because if you really know the statistics, I mean, close to 70% of the people who are killed by heart attack are in that first attack itself. So whatever these 7 things or 7 therapies that were just discussed were about those 30%, remaining 30%, right? So our goal is not to be in that 70 or 30. How can we really kind of bulletproof our heart, right? So coronary heart disease or coronary artery disease, basically it is a result of the blockage of this heart blood vessels, right? So how does that basically look? So this is how it looks. So normal artery, I mean, whatever you have just seen in that video, in just a 2-dimensional picture view, I'm just showing you. The number 1 picture is a normal healthy blood vessel, which we were all blessed with when we were born. And number 2, yeah, the plaque formation started. And because of various reasons, which we'll be discussing in probably in the further session. So next, it even advanced to a level where the arteries got really thickened. And final, the block, the 4th. So here, there are many people in this call and maybe hundreds of people in the call. All right. Sir, Dr. Srinivas, I mean, do we all fall in one of these clogged categories? I mean, are we, or are we still blessed with the number one only, or?
భయపడకుండా ఉంటారనే చెప్తాను.
Yeah,
అసలు
please.
భయపడద్దండి అసలు. No. The first stage is not possible. No, that's not possible for us. Either we are in second or third stages only, because the lifestyle we were in, the changing lifestyle we are in, and the future psychological states or positive attitudes or whatever it is, the habits, all these things, they may change the course next. But thing is, we are not definitely in first stage.
Yeah, this is one of the exact answers that I got when I asked the same question to one of a very popular nutritionist. She told that by the time a baby comes out of the womb and starts drinking milk, the formation of the fat deposition starts. That is the answer she told. The entire game is all about how determined we are to cleanse, keep working on cleaning our arteries. How determined are we? So let us get into that part now. Maybe what are the things that could be done to prevent heart attacks, to make sure that our arteries are clean? Because see, there are, I think if you really look at it, one is a lifestyle. Dr. Srinivas mentioned time and again that he has been talking about lifestyle. So what exactly that means? So lifestyle basically includes the food we eat, the physical activity, the stress levels that we have got in our life, and the amount of sleep or peace that we have got. So all this includes that's what is your lifestyle basically. That is who you are, right? So let us talk a little about the food part now. We got a certified dietitian here. He has a very big clientele community throughout the world who really sought for his expert guidance when it comes to many lifestyle disorders. So Sagar, because when it comes to food, basically food ante, it's kitchen, right? Food means kitchen. So yeah, we all know that there are healthy and unhealthy things, but when it comes to heart, most of us keep hearing about oils. What are the oils that we should be using? What are the oils that we should not be using? Because this one thing is for sure, we cannot avoid using oils. In our Indian kitchens, we cannot avoid using these oils. Now the whole thing is, are we using the oils which are slowly creating that 1, 2, 3, 4 artery pictures, or are we using the oils which are heart friendly? Yeah, we want some comments from you. Can you just elaborate on the oils part, the cooking oils part?
Yeah, good evening everyone. Let's get into the question. Let me share a few details.
I'm making the post. Yeah.
No, it's still disabled.
Yes.
And honestly, 90% of the Indians use wrong combination of oils or wrong oils. That's why I've put some presentation so that everyone can look into it. So This is the recent articles, not 1 day, 2 day, or 1 month, 2 months. This is from years. Very few are aware of this. 90% of the Indians use wrong combination of oils or wrong oils for cooking. In fact, 90% of us use vegetable oils. So these are the articles. One is from Times of India and one is from FSSAI, and in collaboration with FDA, Food and Drug Administration India. They're telling all the refined oils that we use are cheap and they're all dangerous, and they put us in big trouble. Let's look into few more details why this is not good. Think about it. What is the oil that you are using in your home now? Most of us answer must be refined oil. But the way how it's made, or the details that you're seeing on the screen, the chemical exposure, right? There is a process called hydrogenation where chemicals like nickel is used, and these extremely harmful for liver and skin, and it can cause cancers. And most of these oils, to increase the shelf life, for it to keep for a long shelf life, they add a lot of preservatives. Okay, and these preservatives are extremely harmful. And chemicals like sodium hydroxide, these are on long period, these have a drastic effect on the digestive system. That is why there is a lot of digestive issues. It was found that every 7 individuals out of 10 in India are suffering from some kind of digestive issues, be it be constipation, be it be irritable bowel syndrome, or be it be gastritis, or be it be any ulcers of its kind, or any other thing. But out of the number is very huge. I'm not talking about 60-year-old. I'm talking about 1 year, 2-year-old. See, most of you who are having kids less than 5 years, you still see constipation problems with the kids too. Okay, that's because of lot of chemicals, lot of preservatives that's coming to junk food also. But essentially, the most important part is oils too. And most of the oils that we buy in the market, they don't have any color, they don't have any taste, and they don't either have any it would be very plain for all this deodorization, deacidification, dewaxing. No, they use a lot of bleaching agents. These bleaching agents is one big reason for most of the diseases. And when this oil is exposed to high temperature, it loses all its natural properties and all the nutrients. So these are the major reasons why refined oil shouldn't be used. And more importantly, when this happens, the trans fats content gets increases, and it's like a slow poison now. So the more we take these oils, the more it is adding poison little by bit to the heart, and that's why there is a lot of blockages. You might be wondering, it could be one of your favorite brands like Saffola, or it can be Sundrop, it can be Gold Winner, or it can be Vijay, or whatever the brand. Essentially, if you're buying refined oils, you're really buying poison by giving money, honestly. Okay, so these are some examples: canola oil, soya bean oil, corn oil, rice bran oil, all the refined vegetable oils. Then what is the way out?
Sagar, sorry to interrupt. So you mean to say right now, whoever is in this call, majority of them, if they go and check in their kitchen, they'll find one of these oils. Are you sure?
Absolutely, yes, no doubt about that.
No, that's what I'm telling. 90% of us use wrong. No, 90% is just a number. I think really it's more than 90%.
No,
So
you are very modest, Sagar. It will be more than 98.
Yeah.
So
the numbers are literally terrifying.
Yeah, so folks, one takeaway from whatever Sagar spoke till now, if you really want to take care of your heart, stop using these refined oils. Stop using these refined oils. Maybe go check in your kitchens. If you find some refined oils, I think this is time you have to take some real important decision regarding this. Yeah, Sagar, go ahead.
Refined oils are worse for cooking, and sorry to use these words, and honestly, this is true. You should stop using it right away. It is simply colorless, tasteless, and odorless fluid. It's not at all oil. Asalu manam vaadedi asalu oil kadanamata. Okay. So then what to use? The solution, many of you would have known this from last few months or last 1-2 years. This has been a new era for oils. Everyone is realizing the importance of nutrients, the importance of impact of oil on the heart health. You should be using wood pressed oil or natural oil or cold pressed oil for you to understand. And what does that mean? Okay, so what kind of oils? There are two types. Kattaganuga antam, where cow is used to press the seeds and the oil is generated. Now there are missions also where wood is used instead of any other metals, and the rotations with minimum rotations. The more you rotate the mission, the more the heat is produced, the more the nutrients are destroyed. That is why there is wood, it's called wood pressed or cold pressed. Okay, and what oils that need to be used? Everyone knows, when you follow the culture, this has been followed from last many decades in this country, based on whether you're North Indian or East Indian or West Indian or South Indian. These are the only 4 oils that's been used. Mustard oil, aval noon antam, sesame oil, nuvula noona, coconut oil, koppari noona, and groundnut oil. No, if most of you in this call, if you're from Andhra and Telangana, groundnut oil or sesame oil, we have a culture where we use sesame oil or mustard oil for pickles all around the year, and generally it's groundnut oil. If you are from little more extreme south, Kerala, and you use coconut oil. If you're from north or eastern states, you might be using mustard oil, sesame oil. But all these oils, it should be wood pressed. You find wood pressed oil centers in every part of your town now, okay, in every part of your area. So order them and get them. And these oils are anti-inflammatory, antifungal, antibacterial, and contains a lot of antioxidants, contains vitamin A and E, and with rich in omega-3 fatty acids, and has high boiling point too. Okay, so, and this is the reason why I put it in different slide is this. See, ghee is best of all for all type of cookings with respect to oils. No, ghee is sold as clarified butter now in most of the Western countries as cooking oil. The special part of ghee is it has immense benefits on the health, and you can use cooking, the best to be used for cooking in your home. Okay, it's very rich in omega-3. It supports heart health. It reduces bad cholesterol, protects arteries, increases bone density. Great food for children. It's very high in energy. It's great for gut microbiome. It improves digestion. It's a great detoxifier. Good for brain health too, because it contains a lot of good fat and helps in weight loss, boost immunity and whatnot. It's full of vitamins A, D, and K. And ghee is the only oil where you can use it repeatedly for deep frying also, unlike other oils. Okay, so ghee is the best of all. You might be finding most of the children, most of the grandmothers insist children to have ghee, 1 spoon of ghee in every meal. But if it's good for children, it's good for all of us also. So these are the smoke point that you wanted to know for different oils in degrees Celsius. Ghee has the highest smoke point. See, smoke point when you're making deep fries, you find white smoke exiting out. If the white smoke is full, that's the point where the free radicals start generating, and this oil is not not ready or shouldn't be used for next deep frying. But ghee is not like that. You can use for repeated deep fryings also. Okay, so ghee with highest boiling point 252 degrees, olive oil 210 degrees, groundnut oil 160 degrees, sesame oil 177 degrees, mustard oil 248 degrees, and coconut oil 177 degrees. And look at the all the refined oils. I have put an example here for sunflower oil. It's only 107 degrees. So all these wood cold pressed oils are best for health. Now the point is how much to use. Now usually before we get into the answer, usually when I ask my clients, usually if it's a 4-member family, the usual answer would be 4 liters to 5 liters per month. How many of you would agree with me? If there are 4 members in your family, the usual answer that I would get when I ask how much oil is being used in your family is 4 to 5 liters. But do you know how much to use? It should be 400 ml to 500 ml per person for 1 month. So if you are 4 members in the family, it should be 1.5 to 2 liters per month. Say if you're using 4 to 5 liters, which means that you're getting 25 kgs of fat only through oils in 1 year to your family. 25 kgs of fat. Can you imagine? All this fat gets into your body, into the arteries, and that's why there is a lot of health problems. Okay, so Naren sir, back to you.
That's phenomenal, Sagar. Thanks for really valuable insights. And now that I'm talking to a dietitian, I really want to know about one more aspect here about the nutrient part, nutrients, because heart attacks are linked to some vital nutrient deficiencies. So when in your experience in consulting the clients with this heart ailment or certain kind of ailments which could lead to heart attacks or cardiac problems, so what are the nutrients you really focus on?
Yeah, so see, every time now that we are into an information era, this is really a confusing question. Most of my clients, when I ask them, do you eat fruit and vegetables? They say yes. When I ask them, do you exercise for about 40 minutes? They say yes. When I ask them, do you sleep in time? Most of them say yes. And I don't know what to tell them. Most of the times, it's like, they come and test me, whether I am a real nutritionist or not. It's extremely confusing. But whatever they tell, it was really true. The incidence of corona and with the importance of nutrients, that the campaigns that's been run by the government, there is a lot of awareness. So I think this question can be answered with a little extra edges from the other end. That's why I made some presentation for it. Let's go in. So can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so why we lose nutrition density? That's one thing that I want to really tell you. The problem is again, as Srinivasa said, it's only lifestyle. See, you take best care, but you watch a movie or you watch an IPL match, or no IPLs now, but say if you're watching a test match and you're awake until 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at night. One night lack of sleep would give you 6 months of insulin resistance, which means that you are getting preponing the diabetes, which means you would be diabetic very earlier. Or too much of exercise. Exercise is good, but if you do it in right way, there is a good balance between different type of exercise. But if you do it for long for about 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, that's really harmful. You would be draining out a lot more nutrients, especially the water soluble nutrients. You're putting a lot more pressure on the gut microbiome. And say most of us, with the kind of everyone is home and most of the jobs are desk at home in front of systems, the wake up time, no one is awake in the early morning with the sun. Mostly it is 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. Honestly, even with most of the housewives, as I talk with my clients, the problem is this is one more reason. Again, the more delayed the morning meal, the more you're draining out a lot more nutrients like calcium, vitamin D, all this stuff. With the last 2 years, it is estimated that in most of the countries where there is little sunlight, not in India, other Western countries, there is a lot of deficiency with respect to B vitamins and vitamin D, and there is a lot of psychiatric issues. And omega-3 is one of such nutrients which is great for heart. Everyone knows it. But when you look at the statistics, India is a country where this nutrient is very low, because the foods that we have with respect to omega-3, we are consuming it very little. No one is consuming flaxseed on daily basis. No one is having these natural oils on daily basis. Most of us, no one is having about 3 to 5 different colored vegetables every day, and no one is having all these traditional. Problem is, traditional Indian method of cooking would naturally give you a lot of omega-3 in its spices, in its variety of things. But most of us are shifting to Western cooking, and this is a big problem now. All the world, in the entire world, is looking at India and learning its things, and we are following. And India, being an Indian, we are following the Western culture, which is causing a lot of problems. So omega-3 is one super nutrient, and it has about immense benefits. But the best of all is it reduces inflammation at the cellular level, which is main reason for most of all the degenerative diseases. And this is the nutrient which keeps the blood thin. Okay, so next nutrient is potassium. I think potassium is not included in, at least in the last 5 years, at least in most of the journals, in most of these talks. It's only now we are including potassium. The problem is not with the potassium. The problem is in its relation with the sodium. See, sodium and potassium, there is a huge imbalance with the kind of diet that we are taking these days. Potassium is abundantly present in all fresh foods. When you look at the left side part of the slide, all the unprocessed, all the fresh foods, fresh milk, fresh meats, fresh vegetables, fresh foods, all the fresh grains will have lot of potassium, this purple colored one. But same foods, if they're processed, say if you're getting packet milk, if you're getting canned chicken, in a place like Tirupati, I wonder people would not get the regular fresh chicken. They want to go to Walmart and get the store chicken. I don't know why. The impact of Western culture. They don't want to eat local fruits. They want to just eat the different fruits, high exotic foods, which is not of much nutritional value. And grains, we have fresh grains available, and most of us are shifting to cereal breakfast, ready-made grains. The problem is, look at this example. In a baked potato, okay, the ratio of sodium and potassium, the good ratio is 2:450, which means 2 mg of sodium and 450 mg of potassium. But if the same potato, if it's made into potato chip, now look at the ratio. Sodium and potassium, it's 2:20:0. Can you imagine? 2:450 is normal, and now it became 2:20:0. Now tell me, when was the last time you had junk? Most of us answer is yesterday evening Pani Puri, yesterday evening Lay's Kurkures, yesterday evening Maggie, yesterday evening this, yesterday evening that. And most, why there is incidence of heart attacks for 25 years, 30 years? Because children are fed with this process from as early as 6 months.
Day one.
I wonder, people are not giving fruits, they're giving chips. People are not giving fresh milk, they're giving toned milk, chocolate milk, all this milk. So ads or this marketing strategies by the companies are extremely misguided. That's why we have heart attacks. For that matter, that's why we have diabetes. We have diabetes compared to the rest of the world. We have about 10 years earlier. The only reason is this: lot of sugars, lot of salt that's been to all these foods. Stopping junk is one primary thing that you have to do if you were to stop hypertension or if you were to stop any heart problems. Next is B vitamins. See, one main reason for these B vitamins is most of them have it through food. The problem is if you're not having water for about 7 to 8 hours, say if you're into too much of traveling kind of jobs, or if you were into too much of stress, you're draining out B vitamins, or if you were into too much of exercise, because these are water soluble. And when you look at the B vitamin deficiencies, especially the homocysteine levels in the recent times, the early incidence of these heart attacks and strokes are due to this homocysteine level. And one main reason or one remedy for these homocysteine levels is B vitamins. Consume enough fruits and vegetables. That's the easiest way, especially when you're consuming non-veg. Most of the non-vegetarian foods doesn't have enough B vitamins and fiber. Unless you consume at least 1 or 2 cups of salad with non-veg, you don't get enough B vitamins. That's the only way to reduce the homocysteine levels. If you were to reduce heart early attacks and early strokes from 30 to 40, have enough B vitamins. Okay, this is, and then most important of all the nutrients, essential amino acids. It's very simple. If you have balanced meal, you get everything. But the problem is we became so specific with respect to meals. We're avoiding so many foods. Say my daughter is not eating beetroot. My son is not eating pumpkins, and they are not eating greenery. They don't like this fruit, that fruit, and the number is really very short. They're consuming only 2 to 3 or 4 types of fruits and vegetables when we have plenty. But the problem is not every food will have enough or all essential amino acids. There are about 9 essential amino acids. Only desi cow milk and unhybridized or good variety of soya bean will have about 9 amino acids. How many of you are having desi cow milk every day? It's not easy. It's not possible. Or how many of you are having native soya? Most of these grains were hybrid nowadays, hybrid varieties. So the idea is every food will have some 2 to 3 different amino acids. If you consume different kind of foods, different vegetables, different fruits, different grains, different combinations, diversification is a great key. Say example, if you're eating rice, you get 2 to 3 amino acids from rice. Say if you're eating dal, you get 2 to 3 amino acids from dal. Say if you're eating any vegetable curry, say beetroot curry, you get 1 2 amino acids from this curry, vegetable curry, and you say if you're using buttermilk or curd, you get 1 2 from this. So when you have a wholesome meal, you get all the amino acids. The problem is if you're eliminating, you're having only salad for a meal, or if you're having only grain for a meal, or only this, you're not having a lot of diversification in your meal. That's one main reason we have a lot of amino acid deficiency. Look at our culture. Before 30, 40 years, there is no any deficiencies at all, even with respect to amino acids, because they had wholesome meal. But these days, with a lot of pesticides, lot of pollution, it's very difficult. That's why you might also should look into some good amino acid supplements too. Okay, so and vitamin D. See, vitamin D has a very specific thing of it can enhance or it can suppress any reaction in the body. That's why the importance of vitamin D and immunity, vitamin D and diabetes, vitamin D and heart health is on a rise in the last 2-3 years. But the problem is the highest vitamin D that we can absorb from the sun is from Jan, February and March. That's why we play kites in Jan, in our Makara Sankranti season. It's cultural part. Most of these things are very tough to explain it to every home. That's why they put it in culture, in every culture. So the cultural aspects are very powerful. But the problem is, if you're not exposed to enough sunlight from Jan, March and Feb and March, then you have the deficiency all to the year. Now that we are going into winter, the sunlight is little less and vitamin D deficiencies are on the rise. Okay. Apart from the food, you might also look into some supplements too, because the deficiency is very huge. And when you take in little large amounts, it can really help in refilling. And especially if there is any COVID stricken members or post-COVID complications within the members in the family, vitamin D is one of the very key nutrients. So, and the other nutrients of importance is, one is carotenoids, which would build your mucus layers from your from your windpipe to anal tract. And garlic and it reduces cholesterol. Garlic is a super medicine. Okay, so that's why garlic should be taken for about 1 month, not to be taken on regular basis on into the diet. If you take it for 1 month, you should give a little gap with respect to garlic. And fiber, constipation and gastritis always go hand in hand. One main reason why we have a lot of gastritis and all these issues, there is lack of fiber in the diet. And there is a new science, everyone must be knowing it, how fiber helps reduce cholesterol, improves microbiome, all those aspects. So having enough fiber is extremely important. And coenzyme is a nutrient which would be in our body, which is there in our body from in large amounts, but when we cross 35-40, the levels of coenzyme decreases. And the level of coenzyme, it increases the strength of visceral organs, rebuild your visceral organs like heart, lung, liver, and kidney. So coenzyme is one of the super nutrients again. And vitamin C, what to tell about vitamin C? You could really stop all the degenerative diseases if you have enough vitamin C in your body. Okay, all the citrus foods, this is a season for Mosambi, this is a season for apples, and this is a season for pomegranates, guavas. All these are very rich in vitamin C. Okay, so the biggest takeaway is this with respect to this thing: look into the balance. Okay, so back to Naren.
Thank you, Sagar. Yeah, can you just stop your screen share, please? Yes. See, Saga was mentioning about vitamin D, vitamin B12 deficiencies, right? I'll just show you one of the recent clients that we consulted. This is not very uncommon. This has been the case with many clients too, but this report, just have a look at this report. She's just 22-year-old. And look at her vitamin D and the vitamin B12 levels. She's just 22. That means she must be definitely having good enough food, maybe snacks. But despite all this, 4.5 is her vitamin D level. Whereas the bare minimum required levels, if you look at it, is 31. Deficiency starts from 20, and See, now B12, again 117. So all these are going to definitely eventually lead to heart problems. Eventually, before that, they'll be encountering other problems as well. It is not that they are absolutely healthy throughout their life, and at some point, no. If they have these deficiencies, they will be encountering one problem after another, and at some point, yeah, it could be a heart attack. Sir, one question to you. When we speak about these supplements, because yeah, we studied supplementation, we studied nutrition, and we really learned what is insufficiency, what is deficiency, what is optimal range, and what is toxic range, all the ranges. And when we look at all this, yeah, we know that's why WHO even came out with the concept of RDA. But despite knowing all this, when we consult few, in fact, so educated clients, I mean, they say that, yeah, we are not for supplements. We don't want to supplement D vitamin. We don't want to supplement B vitamin. Whereas the case is very clear cut that they have increased homocysteine levels. If that goes out of control, that could lead to a heart attack. And sometimes, why this behavior? What could be a reason?
Okay, number one, from the doctors, pure from the professional side of me, when a person comes to me and when before diagnosing him as a patient, I need a lot of information. So when I start collecting all the information, the way he answers, I'll be slowly, I mean, the way he answers, it helps me in reaching his social status and mental status as well. So depending on that, I formulate a separate approach for the patient. For example, today I had one patient. She was explaining a lot of complaints, a lot of weakness, uneasiness, and all. A lot of problems are there. Really, she is not well. And I just went out for these B12 and vitamin D. And surprisingly for her, and not surprisingly for me, vitamin D, she is deficient. Why they don't accept is right from the age of 10 and 11 years, the way they're brought up at home, that takes them not to accept whatever that is discussed for them. Right. Suppose if I say that your skin is not well, your skin is showing some signs, I need to evaluate for thyroid, then immediately the response will be, the reaction will be, no, none of my family members are suffering from thyroid. My inta vanta ledu, thyroid problem ledu. Meeku enduku vastundi atla doubt? No, maaki test lani voddu. అది దాన్ని ఏమంటారంటే యాటిట్యూడ్ని rejecting the advice. They are not teachable, they are not coachable. And for that reason, what happens is a package of testing will be there. They will be attracted to that. And during that package testing, all those findings, all those deficiencies will be found out, and they come with all the reports to me again. Sir, మీరు అప్పుడు చెప్పింది కరెక్టే, మేము నెగ్లెక్ట్ చేసినాము అప్పుడు, ప్లీజ్ హెల్ప్ మీ. This is the tendency, this is the state of people mindset in India.
Sarcastic. Actually, yeah, though sir is sounding really jovial, actually the scene is, the situation is really a little serious, because we tried to counsel few people in our consultations in vain, where we really failed in the sense we don't get into convincing, or because that's not our job. We try to educate. We totally assume and believe that the other person has enough common sense and sharpness to understand these things. And these people say, and some of them say, protein I can as well get from my milk. Protein, we recommend a supplement because we really know that he is deficient. And omega-3 fats, after maybe few months, we come to know that he passed away because of a heart attack. This kind of scenarios happen not once, maybe more than 10. We have more than 10 examples like this. So those incidents would be one of the very bitter experiences for us as consultants, because we really think we should have tried a little more in educating them. Okay, so before we close, preventive measures, Sagar clearly mentioned, Dr. Srinivas even clearly mentioned changes in your lifestyle and changing the cooking oils, including some vital nutrients into your diet. Apart from that, exercise. When it comes to exercise, aerobic exercise which makes you breathe in, aerobic exercise, in your threshold. Okay, it is proven to at least 30-40 minutes a day. It is proven to really cleanse your arteries. Aerobic exercises, it is proven
Powerful
to cleanse. It could be a brisk walk, it could be jogging, it could be treadmill, it could be skipping, it could be shuttle, it could be, if you like, dancing, Zumba, aerobics, join some session, and power yoga. Make sure that you sweat out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. That cleanses arteries. That is a direct sign that you are doing something good for your arteries, number one. And coming to the diet part, many of us under the misconception that fat is very bad. Because of fat, arteries are getting clogged. So we try to avoid this is fat. I don't want to. This has got a lot of oil. See, the real culprit is. I'm telling from a research paper from Stanford University. So they say that over the last 24 years, they have done some research on this diet and its relation to this clogging of arteries, plaques in the arteries. And they clearly mentioned that it is not about the caloric count. It is not about the calories you take. It is not the amount of calories you're taking. It is about the kind of food that you're eating. So they came out with this conclusion that it is the triglyceride number, the increase in the triglyceride number is not because of the fat you're taking. It is because of the excess carb that you're taking, which you're not burning, which is being converted into fat. This you have to understand. You're not consuming fat directly, but you're consuming pizza, which is a direct form of carbohydrate,
refined carbohydrate,
refined carbohydrates, which simple sugar, simple carbs. Directly they load your cells with insulin, glucose. So this insulin spike, which eventually causes insulin resistance. So this is a root cause for this bad fat in the body, or LDL, which you just saw in that animation, which is clogging the arteries. So it is just, don't be concerned about how much food be concerned about what food is getting into your plate, the quality of food, not the quantity. So lowering the carbohydrates, consuming the right carb, consuming complex carb, maybe whole grains, ఇవి సిరిధాన్యాలు అంటారు, మీకు ఈ మధ్య ఐడియా ఉంటే maybe consuming that, and even that also in moderation,
limited,
you have to understand, right, which has got that fiber content. Okay. And oils, clearly Sagar mentioned, staying away from refined oils and getting into cold pressed oils, cold pressed, wood pressed oils, and water, drinking water. And this is directly drinking enough water, because this has become, again, in my consultations, when I ask client how much water you consume, they say I'm very poor in water consumption. Because they are very honest, and thanks to the clients that at least they're telling that they're not good drinkers of water. Actually, this is, see, the less water you consume, the more will be your what to say, serum sodium levels, levels, which are directly connected
dangerous
to your heart issues. So make sure that you're sipping water at least 3-4 liters is bare minimum. Yeah, best thing is to get in touch with your nutritionist or a wellness coach to understand how much water you should be consuming, depending on your weight and depending on your health goal. So there is a water plan also. As wellness coaches, we advise water plans right from morning, what time you should be drinking water, and what time you should be stopping water also, right? So any final insights, sir, Dr. Srinivas?
Right, Naren, take home message are already there in homes, so no taking home message, writing down and then putting them into practice right from today is number one, define their health. You have to define your own health. It's not somebody else. Your health you define, your family health you define, your friends health you define. Then only the whole concept of health will come into picture. The definition of health, you all people know, so I don't want to go into the depths of that. So health, for that you need to eat good. To eat good means not the quantity, quality. Okay, it's being reiterated regularly. So improve the quality of what you eat, and then improve the quality of exercise as well. Stretch beyond your limits. That is what I feel, and that is what I practice. That is what I promise you. If you stretch beyond your limits physically, your health will be in your hands. You don't have to go to a doctor, definitely.
Thank you very much, sir.
And then find a doctor who is a good friend for you, or make a good friend in one doctor. Be in touch with him. In case of emergencies, what to do. Have a plan, have a written plan of that. You develop a little problem, maybe a little gastritis, maybe little burning sensation in the stomach, maybe little uneasiness in the chest, then that could be a heart attack. So in such cases, what is that you have to do? You cannot call for an ambulance, wait for an ambulance. You got to be rushed immediately. So have a good friend in your family doctor. And then if you are above 35, go for a complete checkup, complete health checkup. That health checkup must include lipid profile. Number one, ultrasound of abdomen for any fatty liver changes, and then regular monitoring of your blood sugar if you are a diabetic, and if you are a hypertensive, again all these liver function tests and all. If you are a patient of thyroid problem, see that once you are on treatment, every 3 months you go for a test. And don't get into a negative aspect. Whenever a doctor asks you go for a test, అంత కామన్ అప్రోచ్ ఏంటంటే నాకు బాగానే ఉంది, ఐఎమ్ ఫీలింగ్ వెరీ ఆల్ రైట్, వై ఈజ్ ఇట్ ఐ షుడ్ గో ఫర్ ఎ టెస్ట్? నో 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 నో, యూ గాట్ టు పే లిటిల్ రెస్పెక్ట్, more respect, and more respect to a doctor who is really struggling to help you out. And then don't advise your treatment to your neighbors or your friends' neighbors or your neighbors' friends. You are a different person, you are a different entity, and you have to be a different entity. Your treatment will not be the same to that different person. So be very, very cautious. Define yourself. What is your age? What is your height? What is your nutritional requirement? And then before I say bye-bye to all this program, a big secret is to be open today. The big secret is the spelling of big is B-I-G. B for brain, I for immune system, G for gut. You take care of your brain, you take care of your immune system, you take care of your gut. Gut means gastrointestinal system. Okay, take care of your brain. Take care of your brain by sufficient, more than sufficient omega-3, more than sufficient omega-3. And then immune system, your immune system must be replenished, rejuvenated, then loaded with lots of vitamin C, lots of vitamin D. And then your gut must be loaded with, your gut must be loaded with lot of fiber and unrefined carbohydrate, wholesome carbohydrate, and then plenty of ghee. As Sagar clearly expressed, don't go for refined oils, go for something else, mustard oil, sesame oil, and then coconut oil and groundnut oil, because this is the one big area where the entire gut system is affected in a bad way, and then that is influencing the other. So you take care of your brain, immune system, and gut, and that takes care of the heart. The big brain, immune system, and gut directly and then indirectly, overall, it protects your heart. Most of the people say that heart is a very, very vital organ, but that vital organ, to be vital, heart is to be taken care directly from brain, immune system, and gut. How many of you are worried about your brain? Don't worry about others, worry about your brain. Your brain functioning must be taken care very, very, very seriously right from this moment. Similarly, your immune system. If you take care of your immune system by taking a lot of vitamin C, that prevents formation of free radicals either in the cells or in the arteries. And then a lot of vitamin D is needed for immune system. And then your gut, more and more fiber. Take it about 2 to 3 spoons. If you are not interested in supplementation, take English lo aithe bottle gourd antamu, Telugulo aithe బీరకాయలు అంటాము. ఆ బీరకాయల్ని బోడిగుడు కొట్టించుకోండి, దాన్ని మొత్తం స్క్రేప్ చేయకండి. స్క్రేప్ చేయకుండా దాన్ని కొంచెం ఊరికే మనకి ఎట్లాగా వెజిటబుల్ వాష్ వచ్చేసింది లిక్విడ్, సో దాంట్లో పెట్టేసేసి ఆ బీరకాయని అలాగే తీసుకోండి. అలాగే లాట్ ఆఫ్ బీన్స్, చిక్కుళ్ళు, విత్తనాలు బాగా తినండి. ఇక్కడైతే మేము మటికాయలు అంటాము, కొంతమంది చౌలకాయలు అంటారు, దాన్ని ఇంగ్లీష్లో అయితే బీన్స్ అంటారు దాన్ని కూడా. ఓకే, ఇవన్నీ కూడా ఎక్కువ క్వాంటిటీలో తీసుకోండి. బట్ దట్ నాట్ బి పాసిబుల్ అట్ ఆల్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, I am 75 kgs, my weight is 75 kgs. I need about 75 grams of protein on an average daily normally. But my style, my working style is a little different. I work physically more, so I need to have more protein. So in conventional diet, what I eat, I'll not get that much quantity. So I need to take more protein. And if you don't accept this truth, you are unfit to be a human being. So accept the truth and start increasing the protein content of your diet. Start increasing, raise the levels of omega-3 in your diet. Start increasing more and more vitamins in your diet. Start increasing the content of fiber in the diet. You take care of your brain, you take care of your immune system, you take care of your gut. The big secret is that if you take care of this big secret, heart will be in your hands, not in a doctor's hands. Back to Naren.
Thank you very much, sir. So before we close, yeah, thanks very much, Sagar, for your valuable participation and valuable insights. Before we close, final comments from Dr. Srinivas. Get your reports, guys. Make sure that because many times when we consult the clients, they say that when I checked last time, my sugar levels, everything was HbA1c, they were all normal. Okay, when was the last time? 2 years back, right? That's not right. So you got to get checked once in 5 months or once in 6 months to be sure that everything is really going good. So your lipid profile, the basic tests, the thyroid profile, HbA1c, okay? So all these tests get done, and make sure that the numbers, be concerned about these numbers. And coming to this BIG, brain, to make it really peaceful and stress-free. Do whatever you got to do to make it really stress-free. As I mentioned, exercises, they release stress, and they release something called as endorphins, or the happy hormones, right? So there are something called as happy hormones in your body. So, but you have to work out to for those hormones to release, right? So brain, that has a direct connection with your heart and your immune system. Work on your immune system by, loading your body with vital nutrients like C vitamin and antioxidants and phytonutrients, and your gut. Take enough fiber and eat insulin-friendly foods. Insulin-friendly foods. Don't. Now and then eating some snack or dessert, this is all definitely fine, not an issue. But if we continuously make it a habit of every 3 hours, 4 hours munching or binging on some snack or something, that is going to be harmful, just not for your gut, even for your heart. That's what is BIG all about. So with this, thank you very much. And thanks, Dr. Srinivas and Sagar, once again. Wish you all a good night and a happy and healthy life ahead. All the best.